Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. I thought I would make a tag video, and this tag video is going to be about sword and sorcery movies. This is a kind of somewhat ignored genre that was actually one of my favourite genres in the days of VHS, and still is, but we don't get that all that much these days. I mean, sword and sorcery, fantasy films, things like Conan the Barbarian, you could include like Lord of the Rings, that's a kind of more a well-known example. Things like Game of Thrones I think are all counted as this, but the heyday of this was the 80s after kind of the success of Conan the Barbarian, where we used to get lots of kind of straight to kind of video sword and sorcery movies. I loved it. There's loads of stuff that sort of came out from Italy for it. And it's a genre that I really love. And there have been some modern examples. There's been a few kind of like more recent kind of entries that have been kind of straight to DVD. Arrowhead Entertainment does quite a few that I think are pretty good, and some that aren't. And then you get the odd kind of like CGI dragony type ones coming here and there as well. So I thought I would do a tag video to try and kind of maybe kind of have a conversation about this genre. Maybe see if there's any fans. I'll put this on the Geek Legion Doom Facebook page to sort of gauge any interest. And there's a couple of people on there who I know do YouTube channels, so we're tagging you in a minute. If you're stuck with any of these kind of like thinking of sword and sorcery movies, I'm going to put a playlist. I've created a playlist of ones that I've reviewed, and I'll put the link of that in the description. Now there are others, like for example I haven't reviewed the Conan films, I haven't reviewed the Lord of the Rings films, among many others, so there are plenty that I haven't reviewed, but there's about 100 or so in the playlist that I'm going to put down below. So what counts as a kind of sword and sorcery movie, for this tag it's going to be the following. So it's basically a kind of a fantasy medieval action movie. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to have sorcery, and what I mean by that, you could have things like Excalibur, Robin Hood. I think that counts, to be honest with you. It's not based on a real person. Things like Braveheart, and probably even Gladiator, even though that wasn't actually based on a specific character, don't count. So you can't use Braveheart, you can't use kind of Gladiator, things like that. So it has to be a complete work of fiction. So things like Robin Hood, I think, are probably the most mundane versions of things that you can use, right up to things like Lord of the Rings, obviously, and Game of Thrones, which are obviously complete kind of like fantasy. So they've got to be like a medieval style. So things like Harry Potter, this doesn't count because it's set in a kind of a contemporary world. I hope that explains it. I've done 10 questions, and I toiled over these questions to try and make a variety of different questions. Some are easy, some require a little bit of thought, and some are even quite political. So we're going to go through it. I will list the questions in the description below, along with a playlist of the fantasy and sword and sorcery movies that I've reviewed, to be able to give you some idea about ones that you can include. But I'm going to have this as an open tag because I really don't know how many people are that familiar with this genre. I will tag a couple of people who have said that they're familiar, so I'm going to do that at the end. But this tag is open to anyone, and I really would encourage people to do this because people talk about horror a lot, people talk about science fiction quite a lot, but sword and sorcery doesn't get talked about very much. So I would like to see anyone who's interested in sword and sorcery. I would think maybe you have to be a certain age for this, but maybe not. I'd encourage you to do the tag and then tag people because I think there's some interesting questions here, and it would be nice to have a dialogue and have a bit of a chat with people about this stuff. So without further ado, let's go through the questions. I'm not going to give my answers on this video because I don't want to influence other people's answers, so I made it my own response to this at another point. Number one, fairly easy. Your favourite sword and sorcery movie. Pretty self-explanatory. Number two, the worst sword and sorcery movie you have seen. Fairly simple as well. Maybe this one's going to require some thought though. Number three, you can pick 4 sword and sorcery movie characters to go on a quest with. So we're talking you are a character, you are the 5th person in a quest. So you're going to go on a quest with 4 characters from different sword and sorcery movies to go on a successful quest to defeat the bad guys and all of that. who do you pick? So I want a team, a roster. If these were kind of real characters you could pluck from movies and kind of make your team up and you go on some type of like mystical quest, who are you going to pick? Number 4, you can pick any weapon from a sword and sorcery movie, just for you to have in real life. So if you want Excalibur, ting, you have the real Excalibur. What do you want? What do you pick? What sword and sorcery intellectual property, franchise, whatever you want to say, title, needs a remake or a reboot? What is your favourite sword and sorcery TV show? I would imagine most people will say Game of Thrones, but there have been others, and mine's not going to be Game of Thrones, even though I do love that show. Okay, here's a political one. So I want to mix it up a little bit. So, with a few exceptions, sword and sorcery movies have traditionally been some of the most un-PC in genre. Where do you see the genre going, or where would you like to see it go, and are you happy with the kind of the way it's been portrayed, it now being in 2019? What do I mean by that? Just to give you a little bit of an explanation on this one. So, if you think about when you look at kind of sword and sorcery movie, it's very much kind of like, you know, women are kind of like over-sexualized and stuff like that. It's always kind of like straight white men, all of that. So, you know, in today's society, maybe this is why we don't get so many kind of sword and sorcery movies these days, because society has changed to become a lot more diverse and everything. But this kind of genre seems to be very much of the kind of the alpha male type kind of genre. Is that okay? Are you happy with that? Where do you think it could go? And what would you like to see change, if anything? So there you go, a little bit of a political one next. I wanted to mix it up a little bit. Next question. Do you have any special editions of any sword and sorcery movies? So like, we're talking steelbooks, media books, that sort of thing, or even a collector's DVD, that kind of stuff, or any merchandise, posters, props, figures, whatever, but are based on a kind of a sword and sorcery property. If you don't, then you don't, but you know, if you do, let's have a look. Number 9. What Hollywood actor or actress, depending on which character you're going to pick here, would you cast as a new He-Man or She-Ra if they were to make a live action movie, which they are apparently doing? So which Hollywood actor would you cast as either He-Man or She-Ra, or you can do them both if you want, in a live action He-Man or She-Ra movie? And then number 10. What is your favourite on-screen dragon? Now this can be TV or movies. So it can be like Game of Thrones, or it can be from a movie, it's up to you. So they are the 10 questions, and I hope you enjoy them. I am going to tag both Mandy and Claire, so I want both of your answers. And it's Amy, the sister as well, if you're into this. I'm not sure if you're actually into this sort of stuff. From the Deadly Dames. So they are who I'm going to tag. Also Grumpy Andrew from Grumpy Andrew's House of Horror show. He also said he liked this genre, so I'm going to tag him as well. They're the only 2 people who I know that are interested in this kind of genre, so I don't want to tag people if they aren't not interested or have no idea about this genre. So outside of those 2, I would encourage people just to, if you're interested in this genre, you know, as Sean Urshan says, you know, answer the call, do a tag video, because I would love to see people's answers. Sword and Sorcery is one of my favourite genres that I miss. I miss these movies. There have been a lot that have been made straight to video stuff that people who may not be aware. Check out the playlist. You may see some stuff there that might tickle your fancy in actual fact. And that's it. That is the tag video. I say I may well do my own answers for this one, but I don't want to kind of just say, oh yeah, I'll pick the same as you. So I'm going to leave my answers out of it for now. That is the tag. I hope you do it. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.